Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Reselling Rhythms. In today's live stream video, I'm going to discuss with my guest his reselling business. And he'll explain how his reselling business helps pay his expenses. He'll share his tips and strategies to help make us more successful and profitable resellers. Every Wednesday, I have a live stream, and I usually interview another reseller, have them share their tips, and techniques on how to make us more knowledgeable and profitable resellers. If you're interested in becoming a reseller or you are a reseller, then you're in the right place. Just going to pop in the chat, guys, say hello to a few people, and then we shall get started. I want to say hello to my moderators and thank them for being here and assisting. Randy and Sharon are both here, and I'm sure Michelle will be joining us shortly, and the chat will be filling up. Appreciate you all being here. So, like I said, what we have today is that we have a reseller who will get into it, Joe, the Philly picker. But he'll explain how he uses reselling to help pay his bills, basically, help supplement cover his costs, and he'll talk about how he sends his children to private school and how that helps. So let's get right into it, and we'll bring Joe in, the Philly picker. Hello, sir.
Hey, what's going on? How are you?
You don't mind being a full screen? I'm going to make you full screen.
Sure, no.
Whoop, I made myself full screen. That's not good. Make you full screen. There you go. I want you to do a little introduction for people that don't know you.
Okay. Hey, everybody. My name's Joe. I go by Philly Picker on YouTube and on Instagram. I'm basically a part-time reseller based in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, where my main platform that I sell on is eBay. I do sell a little bit on Mercari and Facebook Marketplace, but mainly eBay. And I source mostly at thrift stores, estate sales, garage sales, flea markets, things like that. And basically, I sell to supplement my full-time income.
Great. Like I said, I always ask people how they got involved in reselling. Why don't you tell us a little bit, but did you have any family members or friends, or how did you get involved in reselling?
I started basically just, I was always in the sneakers, new shoes that came out every week, whether it was mostly Jordans when I was younger. And I was one of those kids that stood outside of Foot Locker every Saturday morning and waited for the, sneaker release to come out. And I would always try to get two pair. I would try to get one for myself and then one to resell. So that's, I think, what started me into it. But it was basically, there was a store. It was a consignment shop in Philly where I would just take the second pair of shoes that I bought and take it right to the consignment shop, and the consignment shop would sell it and then, call you up and say, hey, we sold your shoe, come in and get your money. So that's what initially got me into reselling, was sneakers. That store closed a few years after that. And I went to pick up some inventory that I had there, and just happened to be talking to people online. There was other resellers that were there to pick up their inventory. And a couple of guys were talking about selling on eBay. I said, you know what? I'll give it a shot. So that's really how I started on eBay, was selling a few pair of sneakers here and there, but nothing serious, So
how long ago was that?
I'd say maybe about 7 or 8 years ago is when I and I would sell very little. I mean, I sold maybe one or two pairs of sneakers a month.
Okay.
But recently, within the last 2 years, is when I really focused on, getting a store, really looking into what eBay can do. eBay can do for you, supplementing my income. And then I, of course, went down the rabbit hole of watching different videos and watching different YouTube channels, and kind of opened my eyes up that it's just not sneakers. I mean, you can sell basically anything that you come across and get it for the right price. And, and that's how I really started with really focusing on and taking it more serious, I should say, and, making sure that my pictures were decent. Before I would just take pictures of sneakers wherever I could, you know what I mean? So within the last 2 years, I really took it a little bit more serious. Yeah.
Pictures and your descriptions and your
titles, and really, got focused on getting the different supplies that I really needed. I was always, running around looking for, and I would sometimes buy boxes where it wasn't really, smart at the time,
Cost effective, right?
Yeah, cost effective, and things like that. But with the last 2 years, I really focused more on the whole making it a reselling business as opposed to just.
So like the last year and a half, 2 years, you've been kind of concentrating on really full time. I mean, full time, part time, basically.
Yeah, part time. Well, yeah.
I mean, yeah, you're putting in the hours, so yeah.
Yeah, I do put in. I do put in the hours. I do it part time, but I also enjoy it. So that's what sometimes it doesn't feel like it's actual work. I enjoy.
That's the old saying: if you do something you enjoy, you'll never work another day in your life. So I mean, and that's what I've learned over the years, and interviewing people and being involved in reselling. Sell things you're interested in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I talk all the time how I learned from some of the OG people. Oh, women's jeans are the greatest thing since sliced bread. It's like, well, I don't like selling clothing, and I don't like selling women's jeans, and there's a lot of returns, yada yada yada. But I mean. Mm-hmm. If you're interested in, like, we'll get into your different niches that you sell, like you said, the athletic shoes, which you were really kind of a sneakerhead when you were growing up, and video games and those type of things. But if you enjoy doing it, and again, in my opinion, it's only my opinion, for what it's worth, hard goods are a lot easier to list than clothing.
I agree with that statement too. I agree. I do have most of my death pile is clothing, so
because you don't enjoy doing it, so you put it off like everyone else. Like they put things on. I'll list this. It's easier. I enjoy this. I don't want to list this.
Yeah, it's exactly right. That's the reason why I have more clothing items in my death pile than hard goods. So.
I want to bring up, guys, real quickly, and I'll bring it up periodically through the show. Because I know people join at different times. Just a reminder, I shouldn't say a reminder, I'm telling you for the first time. Next week, I'm going to start at half an hour earlier. I'm going to have the cap guy, Bobby, on. So we'll be starting at 6:30 next week. So I'm going to say that periodically through the show. So glad to have Joe, a fellow Delaware Valian. I almost put out my Eagles hat, and I said, my hair is messed up as it is. I need a haircut. So I'm not going to do that. And then talking to Bobby, he's a huge Dallas fan. It's like, that'll be an interesting interview. Yeah. For those of you that don't know, Dallas and Philadelphia, as far as the football teams, we don't really mix too well. So
yeah, it's a huge rivalry.
Rivalry, right? Yeah. All right, so I'm just going to get a little bit about. So you saw mostly on eBay. Just want to learn a little bit about your eBay business, and then we'll get into like the niches, the specialties that you like selling on. Just ask you basic questions about your eBay store. Do you run sales? Do you get involved at all in that?
I don't really run too many sales. Okay. I have in the past. I try to focus on I should say I was talking to. I do a live show with two guys on Wednesday afternoons. The January House and Art Vandelay. I just did see Art Vandelay in the chat, and we were talking afterwards about running a sale. I think I have some older items in my store that I'm really going to focus on trying to get them out of my store. They're like kind of like dead items, and I'm gonna run a sale on them.
Like a clearance sale.
Yeah, kind of items that have just been sitting there, and then if they don't sell after this, sale that I run, I'm just probably going to redonate them somewhere. Yeah. But I don't really run a sale. No.
Has your experience been not favorable when you're running sales, or I'm just curious?
I think I don't know. I just never really
got in the running sales.
Yeah, went that way, and I know I should adjust my prices a little bit and factor in those sales, and I just haven't done that. I've started recently running promotions. So
that was one of my next questions. As far as, do you run promotions? Do you accept best offers? I mean, the typical eBay kind of things that we do as eBay sellers. So you are running promoted items. What do you determine? What kind of percentage do you use?
Well, I didn't understand the whole aspect of promoted listings, and I finally reached out to another YouTuber, Tommy Bernard. You might have heard about him, but I reached out to him because he does a show 2 times a week, and he talks all the time about the back, I guess, like behind the scenes of eBay and how it works, and he's someone. I mean, I think he's a smart guy, and when he explained it, like,
you just knew that Tommy popped in the chat. That's why you're saying that.
Oh yeah. So I was actually just Tommy. I was just talking about our conversation we had. So finally, I reached out to him on Instagram, and I talked to him on the phone for over an hour. And not that he just told me, like a lot of people that I've watched before have just said, never explained the whole thing of promoted listings. They just said, here's the percentage. This is what I do. And this is what it, and I talked to him for over an hour, and he really explained a lot to me. So this is what I did. And I took his advice is I use the trending rate, and I do 3.5% more than that. Cause sometimes, because sometimes I would go and
you got to be careful with your margins though, because you're talking 14,
that's the thing.
15%.
Because sometimes I would promote. I look at it as the same way. If you're going to run a 10% sale,
true.
What's the difference of running a 10% promotion and getting your item higher up in the search rank and things like that? So that's what I've been. And I'll tell you, I did two separate campaigns,
right?
3 days each time, and I've sold the most that I've sold in a long time. I mean, I think the first day of that promoted listing of trending +3, and everything has been under everything. Both the campaigns combined, my total average promoting rate was a little over 8%. So I was under.
Because a lot of things I saw, especially clothing, it'll be like 7%, 8%.
Right. So I was actually under the 10% sale that I would have been running.
5-6% plus your 3. Okay, so you're under 10%.
So it was roughly over all the items that I sold in the two campaigns that I did was roughly a little bit over 8%. And I forget the exact number what it was,
right, so
but it was
ballpark 20-ish% when you factor in the base fee plus the listings.
So, I mean, it's been working for me, and it's just something that
works for you. I mean, you the only thing is you got to try it. Like I tell people, like they'll say something, well, I don't know if I can get this price. Well, I say, well, if you don't ask for it, you're not going to get it.
Right.
So I mean, I know that there's philosophies out there, do 1-2% because you're going to get the duplicate listing, and other people say use trending. Other people say use trending plus a few percent.
And I was dabbling into, just picking random numbers of doing it. And then with the trending rate and plus that little bit above, that 3% above it, it was still like I was selling things where I would put like 10% trending rate in there. And if I would have did the trending plus 3%, it would have been less than the 10%. So I was overpaying sometimes to promote an item. So I think with it averaging out to being less than, the 10% that I was willing to promote a few other times before,
right?
Why not go that way? Right. And it's just something that, has worked. And it's been 6 days that I've been running this promoting.
So you just started recently. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Great.
And I've sent out like about 33 items in those 6 days. And I can't tell you the last time I sent
33 items in 6 days. That's great.
Yeah.
And it was some of the whatever else you sold.
Yeah, and it was some of the older stuff that I had sitting around.
Too. Yeah, like you said, instead of running clearance sale, you just pump up the promoted listing.
Yeah, So
that's great. I mean, guys, so maybe that's something. If you have old things in your inventory that are not selling, maybe look into that running.
I hope I explained that all correctly.
You did.
Okay,
we all, again. I'm going to jump into $64,000 questions since we just promoted listings. Free shipping or not free shipping?
I charge shipping. Yeah. I charge flat rates.
Some people say if I have first class postage, I'll pay for shipping. Again, there's no such thing as free shipping. We all know you build it in to the listing price of the item. But I
charge a flat rate shipping. And
I do that too. I mean, some people do calculated.
Yeah.
Allegedly, it's better for newer sellers to use calculated. I've always done, flat rate. I figure out what's going to cost me. It's easier back in the day because, first class was first class. Now it's, it's distance plus weight plus yada yada yada. But I just find it easier just to use a flat rate. Like if I'm doing padded flat rate envelope, I'll do $9.49 or whatever it is, or I know what my cost is. And again, remember, guys, for your newer sellers, you are paying a fee on top of that shipping cost. So if it costs you, I'll make it easy, $10, you're paying eBay an additional 10% because you're paying final value fees. So you're paying like an additional $1 in fees. You can thank the people that were back in the day that were putting things out for for $1.99 and charging $15 shipping for that.
Right. Yeah, I wasn't on eBay then, but I do remember hearing stories about
it was a thing.
That.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so I just start like if I sell sneakers, I charge $9.99, and sometimes Yeah, if there's sneakers in the box, like new in the box, I charge like $14 for them. Flat.
So what do? You box and put another box? Do you use
Yeah.
the priority rate shoe boxes to ship your shoes?
My pre-owned shoes, I just use the shoe boxes, and then I kind of I think it's a 1095 box or whatever. You can cut it a different way to reshape it around the regular like.
Now, do you
like
go on through eBay?
Sneaker box.
Do you use Pirate Ship? Do you use another shipping service, or you pretty much just use eBay?
Recently, I'd say within the last 7 or 8 months, I've hooked up a credit card to Pirate Ship, and I hooked up a travel credit card to get the mileage.
Yeah, I tell people, again, I don't do a lot of volume, so I use Pirate Ship because I get commercial rates plus from item one. Now some people, if they're out, if they're top rated plus, maybe they're going to get a little bit better deal than me. But like you said, you can tie a credit card. You can tie a credit card to PayPal too.
Right.
Although, like with eBay, I pay my store fees through my bank, but when I do my shipping, I bill it through Pirate Ship, and I get 1.5% back on my credit card. So, hey, every little bit helps.
Yeah. So I use Pirate Ship
use it for travel, so you can use it for vacations or whatever.
Yeah. So and I'd say within the last 7 or 8 months, I've done it that way, and it works fine. There are sometimes if I'm in a rush and I need to get something out right away, or if I have 1 or 2 packages just that I want to ship right away, I'll just use the regular eBay.
Sure.
The regular eBay app. But if I have a lot of items going out, usually like on a Monday over the weekend, if I have a decent amount of items going out, I'll use Pirate Ship and make sure I get the points on my credit card. So.
The other Philly, the flipper, is in the house, so he says we got the superior Philly seller on my show. So okay, so get again a little bit more into the niche that you're into, and a little bit about touch on eBay, and then we'll get into, like I said, I want to see your specialties, and we'll try to teach to the people, myself included, people in the chat, a little bit about the items that you sell. So. When you're out sourcing, I guess you do the traditional sourcing. Do you have any kind of tips or tricks as far as sourcing?
Now, like in the summertime, I like to go to the flea market and yard sales. That would say, like in the summertime, that they're my what I would say. I would go to them first, and then thrift stores and stuff like that. But in the wintertime, when nothing else is around, like the flea markets are closed or there's no yard sales, I strictly just go to Goodwill and thrift stores, regular thrift stores.
Well, again, this is more for me than I guess it applies to everybody. But what's your experience been with yard sales and garage sales in the Delaware Valley? My experience has been they've been virtually non-existent.
It's hit or miss. I feel like there's a ton of them on certain weekends, like early on in the summer. I feel like for like 1 or 2 weeks, you'll have 50 yard sales. Right away, all different parts of the area,
right?
Where you can't get to all of them, and then it will just be occasional 1 or 2 here throughout the summer, and then towards the end of the summer, like right before school start, like last week, I went to up in Jameson. There was a few community yard sales.
Community yard sales. Well, that's ideal if you can find that.
So that's and I try to. There's like Autobahn, New Jersey has one every year, but it's usually early on in the season. Yeah. So I'd rather go to a community yard sale where it's all kind of, instead of trying to run all over the place.
I know you go to Salvation Army. That was one of your videos, and guys, again, it's just to the side from me. There's a lot of videos about Goodwill and the prices they charge, and how they're supposed to be nonprofit and all their executives make all kind of money. But if you can support Salvation Army, I've heard a lot of good things about Salvation Army. Randy was kind enough to share last week, my moderator Randy Fasik, I'm sorry, how they really helped. His daughter had a fire in her house and she pretty much lost everything, and they donated clothes to help them out, new clothing. Right. Randy was telling me that with Salvation Army, what they do is whenever they get new toys donated, they don't put them in the store. They save them and they donate them to needed charities, so that children have new toys at Christmas time. So, again, for what it's worth, from me to you, if you can, try to support Salvation Army.
Yeah, I like going to Salvation Army. Their prices are a little bit better than Goodwill around here. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, it varies everywhere, right?
It varies everywhere, and we've been lucky. I don't know if it's all over the country, but in the Philadelphia area, our Salvation Armies have been getting donations from Amazon, like packages that were damaged.
Okay.
Yeah, so
I haven't been in my closest Salvation Army is probably about 12 miles from here.
Okay.
So it's a bit. I mean, I guess I could probably go across the bridge; it'd be closer. But I mean,
there's one, right over Levick Street, right as soon as you get over the bridge.
Yeah.
I go there. I like going there for that reason. A lot of times, I'm able to pick up some new in the package, golf balls or a few other things that.
And they're Amazon returns. Okay.
They're not even Amazon returns. They're Amazon, like they get damaged at the warehouse. Say they fall off the pallet.
Okay. And they donate them to Salvation Army. Okay.
So they donated a lot of them to Salvation.
I hadn't heard that before. That's
no.
Man, I need to start going back, work on my cash pile. I wouldn't call it a cash pile, not death pile. The Salvation Armies.
Yeah, I found like Legos, new in the box Legos, but the boxes were damaged.
Okay.
But there's more. There's probably 3 Salvation Armies near me, and there's like 1 or 2 Goodwills. But they've recently, I'd say, in the past, the Goodwills have been really good to me. But they just have new management. Both of the Goodwills near me have new management, and the prices are ridiculous.
And the other thing is too, I mean, some of the stores, not all the stores, they're cherry picking things out, and they're selling it online too. So
yeah, but yeah, so I like thrift stores, but I'd say garage sales and yard sales I enjoy more. I think I get better items and pay less for them.
When you're back in the house, and you got all the 3 amigos are in the house.
Yep.
Okay. We'll get into that towards the end. We'll talk about your YouTube show and everything.
Okay.
So again, when I discussed, pre-chat about some of your niches, and want to get into that a little bit, you pretty much sell one-offs mostly, I would assume, and but you do well with athletic shoes, video games, and sporting cards. So
I do.
Get into a little bit about that. Maybe you can enlighten us about what you like to sell, and give us a few tips and tricks about those particular items.
But usually when I go to usually anywhere, whether it's a yard sale, estate sale, or flea market, I try to check the sneaker section first. I think that's what I know the most about, so that's why I go that way. But being part-time, I try to limit myself to buying sneakers that I'm able to list right away. Maybe just wiping them down, not really going into the whole cleaning process of cleaning every single pair of shoes. Trying to, so I pick and choose what sneakers I pick up. I have an example here of like a shoe that it's been sitting in my desk pile. They're on cloud shoes, but they're so dirty. I just haven't gotten around to cleaning them up yet. But I think they were $6.99. They were half off.
Half off. Okay.
So that's the reason why I picked them up. So I'm not 100% against picking up dirty shoes like this. If I can get them at the right price, I will. But I do try to pick up sneakers that are pre-owned, that are just ready to list. Like this was another pair I picked up. They're clean. I just had to wipe off a little bit around the edges.
What do you use as far as cleaning your athletic shoes, and what kind of things do you use?
These are like the real dirty pair. I use like OxyClean, and sometimes I soak them. Like these will need to be soaked.
Soak them in what?
Yeah, OxyClean. In a bucket.
You soak them like in a bucket with water and OxyClean? Okay.
Yeah. And then, scrub them and then sit them out in the sun that they dry. Okay. But like that's for like the pairs that are like this, that are actually really dirty. But I try to avoid that just with the amount of time.
Yeah. I always say, time is money,
Yeah. The amount of time that I have to list, I'd rather be listing than cleaning a pair of shoes than, I feel my time is more valuable by listing the items that I readily have available than it would be cleaning off.
Like a really valuable item, and you can clean them up.
Yeah.
I know you say you told me you use pre-chat. You use Goof Off for some things for cleaning.
Yeah, I use just like Goof Off like this because it might be everywhere. It probably is everywhere, but all the thrift stores, write their write the prices on the bottom of them.
Right. Yeah.
of the shoes. So I use that to put a little bit on a Q-tip and just wipe it down. It usually comes off, and then eventually, if there are some shoes that I can't get the price tag off, or what they write in with Sharpie,
Right.
sometimes I'll just color it in myself, where it just looks like a spot on the bottom of the shoes. So I try not to waste.
For you.
I try not to waste too much time with it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and again, I don't find a lot of athletic shoe wear around here that, at least in my mind, that's valuable, and I don't really mess too much with the Rosses and the Burlington Coat Factories work, because I'm not a shoe head, and I don't really know. I mean, I don't know if something's a second or if it's a counterfeit, and I've heard stories how some of these stores do get seconds and counterfeits.
Yeah, I mean, I
buy those.
I come across like some fake sneakers at the flea market a lot.
Sure.
And to me, I think just being, familiar with what the authentic ones are, 9 times out of 10, I would just be able to pick one up, and I'm able to tell. And if I do have any
video the other day, were the Yeezys, what was you were showing, you decided not to get them?
The price tag, they were $100. They were pre-owned $100.
Right.
So that was the first thing, and I wasn't 100% sure with if they were a little bit cheaper, and I was possibly leaning that way to buy them. I would have dove in a little bit further and tried to maybe pull the insole out, see some different stitching and things like that. But I ended up passing on those shoes because they were overpriced at that point.
Okay. Like I say, you do well with video games as well. So again, I told you, pre-chat, I'm quite a bit older than you. So when I grew up, there was the Atari, the game with the Space Invaders and Pong and Missile Command. So I don't know a lot about video games, but obviously we find them out in the wild. So and I use this analogy, and other resellers talk about it. I have live stream shows. Will say, Joe, if I was your friend or your brother, or whatever, and I want to get into flipping video games, what would you tell me to look for?
Well, number one, I think they're hard to find. That's the problem with me. For the longest time, I was always, I guess I should have mentioned it earlier. Probably 90% of the stuff that I resell now is because of watching other resellers, like what sold videos. I enjoy watching them. I learn a lot from them. I think they're, an important part, if you are going to grow your business, is maybe to see what other kind of items people are selling. So video games were always in, what sold videos. And I learned a little bit. I like, if you laid out 50 video games for me and told me to pick out the most, valuable ones, I probably couldn't do it that way. But if I, take the time, I look up a lot of my video games before I end up buying them, just because I don't know, just to see which one is valuable. But GameCube, I look for GameCube. A lot of times when I go to yard sales, I ask, just flat out ask if they have any video games, or a lot of times they don't put them out. A lot of times people don't think that they have any value to them, especially since the new PlayStation came out or the new Xbox came out. A lot of them, yeah. Dan saying
the NES system you picked up, you were showing me earlier.
Yeah, this is just something I found at the flea market, and it was actually a guy that used to sell online. But this was, I do have it's not new in the package, but it's all there. The box is in pretty decent shape,
like new, right? Yeah, excellent condition.
I actually had the actual systems over there. I was testing it yesterday and playing some video games, but. Like I picked up that. It's something not normal that I normally pick up or normally find.
And you told me, you said you kind of overpaid a little bit for it too.
I think I paid up for it. I bought that, and I bought the glove. I'm sure you guys, if you know anything about video games,
the power glove with the sensor. Yep.
I haven't seen one of these in a long time. Right. I know I haven't seen one of these in a real long time.
Sure, absolutely. And
I was testing it last night. It works. Everything's there. The sensors are there. So I paid
20 years younger playing with that.
I paid $155 for.
Lisa wants to know it doesn't work, and you said you tested. And said they work, right?
Yes. Yep. The Nintendo works great, and I could only test this to a certain point in the game, because I don't have an actual game that the glove is actually used for. But it lights up, all the buttons work, the direction arrows work.
Okay.
So I'm going to go with it being tested, but I don't have one of the actual games that the glove was actually used for. So, but that's something that I don't mind. I do enjoy the yard sales and the flea markets and all that, paying low dollars. I don't mind paying up for something either that I know that's going to sell. I think, the Nintendo in the box will sell, for a decent price, and there's not too many of the power gloves that are listed. So I think
I know you're not really monitoring the chat. At least he wants to know if you're going to auction it off or you're going to do as listed as a buy it now.
I'll probably list it as buy it now and turn on offers for it, and maybe list it a little bit higher, and go from there.
That's the guy in the house. Pat Dees is in the house.
What's up, Pat?
Representing Pennsylvania. So you're going to list it for a fixed price?
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly. I know there was a couple different...
Again, price it high and accept best offers, or run it promoted, whatever.
Yeah, when I picked it up, I wasn't sure. I mean, I didn't know at the time that there was a couple different boxes of this that came out, but this action set was different than the original.
Oh, I didn't know that either. Okay, like I said, that's after my time I played with video games. So
yeah, there's a couple different boxes that came out, so I still have to do a little bit of research on that. So
okay, so you said you pretty much look up everything when you're outsourcing. Do you just do like eBay solds and eBay listings, or is it like another app or website that you use? What do you use when you're?
No, I use just the eBay app, and I check sold through rate and stuff like that. Make sure that I'm not buying something that there's
buy something that there's
500 listed,
to a month.
Yeah, and usually those items I'll pass on. If something that is there's 500 listed and only 5 sold in the last 90 days, I'll probably, that's something that I got to pass on, So I do check that, and everything that I usually check is on eBay, just using the regular app.
Okay. Now you said you also sell sporting cards as well, right?
I do more collecting of sporting cards than I do.
Okay.
Than I do selling. I do sell, if I buy like a lot of cards, or I buy, something that like the last one I bought was a bunch of like Ben Simmons cards that were already graded. And there was like
Philadelphia fans,
and it was after the season, and I got a pretty decent deal on
those low, I'm sure.
4 of them, and no, I bought 5 of them. I'll probably list 2 of them to try to make my money back on the 5 that I bought.
That's a pro tip too, and I've had Anthony on the show, and most of you probably know Anthony if you're into sporting cards, Pittsburgh. But he says that he sources cards and things all season.
Right.
So now that basketball is over, he might source basketball cards. So we're in baseball season now and coming into football season, so you're not going to source those. Maybe he sources basketball and hockey cards now.
Yeah. So
did you say I think I'm getting confused. I have so many people on the show. Did you say that you only buy graded cards typically, or that varies?
Right now, I try to buy graded cards already because of just the cost that it does take to get them graded. So I rather pay up a little bit more for the card than if I got it just raw ungraded and with it already being graded. So right now, I've been sourcing cards that are already graded. Usually with PSA.
So you had a question, and you said something about the chat spinning. I'm trying to half monitor the chat and pay attention to Joe. If you had a question, just put a Q in and put what your question is, and we'll get an answer for you. Okay. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Again.
Yeah, so I just look for graded cards to sell. Cards. Okay. Yeah, I do buy mostly.
That's an issue too. And again, I'm learning. Like I'm not a card guy, and I hear about how expensive it is to get cards graded now. And with the pandemic, there was so much going on, and they didn't have the employees, and the prices are crazy. $100 to get a card graded. It's craziness.
Yeah, like I seem to buy like home team cards. I buy Sixers cards, Eagles cards. Phillies cards.
Okay, you're good. Okay, next. Okay, I thought you had a question on it, and then I may have missed. Okay, cool. I just want to make sure. And I tell people I have ADD, and if I apologize if I missed your question, I tell you put a Q in front of your questions, and I'll catch it, or one of my moderators requests catch it. If I miss it, whatever, then we'll get it towards the end of the show. So if you have any questions, guys, just put a Q. It makes it easier for us to. So no, I encourage you guys to chat amongst yourself, in the chat. So if you have questions specifically for myself or my guests, put a Q in front of it. And that way, I know it's related to myself or the guests. So okay. So sporting cards, like I said, you're basically buying graded cards.
Yeah, and I just try to buy a couple cards that I'll keep for myself, and then I'll sell some cards that will pay for that card. Something that I want in my personal collection or something.
You're going back to buying 2 pairs of sneakers and selling one and keeping one.
Something similar to that. Something similar to that.
Something's hard to die. I mean, that's how you learn the business.
Yeah. So.
Okay. Let's see. I'm going to give you a typical live stream YouTube reseller question. Your biggest slip percentage wise and dollar wise.
I don't know. I've done well on a few different things. I think the largest dollar item that I sold was a old cast iron skillet, but it was like a hotel skillet. It was like it was probably like 24 inches wide. It was like a Griswold. I think I paid maybe $400 for it, and it sold for $1,200. Yeah, it sold for $1,200. I saw Craigslist Hunter, Pete Craigslist Hunter. He had a video, and I was always on the lookout for one of them, and
you found one for a while.
I found one out there. Yeah, and it didn't take that long. It didn't take that long to sell. I was really shocked. It was in really good condition, though. I got a really good deal on it. It didn't wobble. It was a Griswold. Like I said, it was huge.
Griswold, that's yeah.
Yeah.
It was Griswold, like National Vacation, but Griswold is the
yeah. It was a big pan, and it went to Florida. I was really nervous about shipping it and everything else, but it worked out.
It's hard. It should survive as long as you pack it well, right?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, the guy that bought it asked me so many questions about like how it, put it on your counter and make sure it doesn't wobble. Can you put a piece?
That's when the bells and whistles are going. Oh,
yeah,
I
was really nervous about it. And he said,
you were nervous. You weren't nervous about it getting here. Say if you were nervous about the buyer having issues. Yeah.
I mean, he was asking me stuff that I didn't even think of it. And can you put a loose leaf piece of paper underneath it? And, can you pull it out? And, was it snug under there, or did it just come? It was really bizarre, but he was willing to pay the $1,200. And I think he paid like $50 to ship it. And it arrived, and, I was sweating it out for 3 days before it got to Florida. And, he gave me a positive feedback for it. So I'd say that's the biggest item that I sold, most dollar item that I sold.
And I'm sure you probably paid 25 cents for something and sold it for $100 or something, something to that effect somewhere.
Some, box lots, that I bought at like an auction before. There was a few auctions that I used to go to before.
We didn't really get into that. I mean, as far as, like I said, you typical sourcing, we didn't bring up auctions. So you used to attend auctions, like live auctions or?
Yeah. There was a couple that were over in Jersey, like Burlington area.
Okay.
There was one at like the VFW Post that they would have like every Monday night, and I would go over there, but they haven't had it since the pandemic. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I used to like going over there, and I was like a bottom feeder over there. I mean,
oh really?
Yeah. Because a lot of
everyone has their own niches. You got to do what you got to do, right?
Yeah, there was a lot of collectors that came, so a lot of and they just wanted, like, they would buy a box lot and take one or two things out of it, and at the end, like towards the end of the auction, the auctioneer would sell like half the table, which was ever left, or things like that. So I found some decent things in there, and that, like you said, I barely have a few cents into it, and I sold them for $40 or $50. So percentage wise, they're a lot better.
There's a quick tip for you, kind of hang around to the end of the auction, see if you can get some deal. Kind of like going to estate sales on the last. I mean, there's different theories about that. You want to get there early to get the best stuff, and other people say, oh, you go to last day and you can bundle and get 50% off, yada yada yada.
Yeah. So
absolutely. Okay. All right, let's see here. Anything else I may have missed here? We talked about video game. We talked about athletic shoes. Talked about sporting cards. We had discussed the pre-chat, guys. If you ever come on my show, I always do a pre-chat with my guests because I just try to see what they like to talk about and kind of have a way to do the show. I tell people I was ADD before they even knew about ADD. So we talked about a couple things about some of your bolos, some things that we may not be aware of how well they sell and how much they sell for. You talked about blank media and a couple other things. Why don't you discuss those a little bit? I
didn't know there was such a market for blank media, like blank VHS tapes and blank CDs and things like that. That's really shocked me. Old health and beauty aids like razors or razor refills and some discontinued health and beauty aids. People will pay up for those items. Old, new in the package, like undershirts or underwear, Hanes, Fruit of the Loom.
I think you were telling me about the Fruit of the Loom. What were you getting for some crazy price? You buy them new in the bag, and how much did you get for them?
I was getting like $70 for them, for a pack of
like
three. Three pack.
A 3-pack at $75.
Yeah.
Guys.
Yep.
Look for those old underwear
and all the old bag. Like Jockey brands, Fruit of the Loom, Hanes.
Yep.
They all have.
Anyone, he said the same thing about that. Yeah.
A manufacturer date right on the back. Right by the. It's usually on the back of the package down the bottom with the last couple lines. It will tell you what year they were. Okay. Yeah, it will tell you what year, and anything in the 90s, 80s seem to do well. Just undershirts. I think people buy them to either, they're vintage anyway, and maybe they put their own logo on them or something like that to have a vintage T-shirt. So yeah.
Okay, let's see what Tommy had a question about here. Tell us about how you got $300 on Passport.
It wasn't me, Tommy.
Wasn't you?
No. I'm not. This guy's not doing any modeling. Nobody wants to see me in underwear.
Oh, you always got to have something. What was John saying? Pretty sure that Fruit of the Loom stuff is a fetish type. Well, I should have probably shown that thing, but
it could be.
Well, it is after 7:00 at night, but appreciate you, Peter, John.
It could be. Because they don't usually last long either when they're up for sale, especially like there was one of the Fruit of the Loom color underwear. There was like 3 separate colors in there, and they were. I sold them within a couple of days of listing them, and I listed them high because it was a good size too. I think it was like extra large, and there wasn't any extra large for sale. So I listed it a little bit higher because there wasn't any other ones available, and they sold within a couple of days.
Johnny said he was pricing his stuff too low. He has to raise his prices on those items.
Yeah, see
that's why you watch AdamsExploits. You get these kind of pro tips from my guests.
Especially if there's no other size out there, or there's one or two listings in a size that you have. I always seem to price it a little bit higher because eventually they're going to sell out. Yeah, and absolutely. And I do go back and eventually check, some items that have been sitting a long time. Maybe I did overprice it to begin with, and I just adjust the price or whatever. But I do look to see if there's the size that I have. If there's only a few that are listed, I do price it up a little bit.
Okay, guys, I want to see if there's any questions in the chat. I'm just going to go through a little housekeeping here, and if there are any additional questions for Joe, appreciate Joe being here, and we'll have some questions for Joe. And just want to remind you guys that I'm not monetized, so I have Buy Me a Cup of Coffee, PayPal, Cash App in my description below. My friend Randy, my moderator, is also helping me out. Randy's website is linked there. You can buy candy, spices, coffee from Randy, and Randy's kind enough to pay me a small commission if you guys purchase anything. So Randy has great items. Just when you sign up for his website, when you put your name, just put AE after that, and Randy has been kind enough to offer me a commission on anything you guys buy from. So I really appreciate that, Randy. I appreciate you helping me out. So were there any questions in the chat that I may have missed for Joe or myself? And let me just see what John has to say here. One thing I always worry about is the new and packaged underwear, socks. It's hard to tell if the elastic is going bad. That's a good tip. The elastic could have deteriorated.
Yeah,
and obviously you're not going to open the package, so because then it's not new and
right.
bad.
I've heard other people say on different channels that have sold it is that usually if it's still in the package in the plastic, it usually holds up better than if it was just out,
right.
Out of the package. I don't know.
Again, I don't know for a fact because
I don't know either.
Out in a while, but I guess would you see discoloration, kind of like a yellowing? I would think.
I don't know, or maybe you can even just tug on it a little bit, even in the package, and just see if it breaks. I haven't had any returns or trouble with that, but it is something that could possibly happen, I guess.
Absolutely. Okay, why don't we get a little bit into your YouTube channel and then the shows you do, and your three amigos. I want you to discuss your YouTube channel a little bit.
Yeah, I do have a YouTube channel. I do a live show every Wednesday at 1:00 with Art Vandelay and the January House. We call it a listing hangout live show. We try to get some work done, but it usually turns into just a hangout where we interact with the chat and just talk about whatever comes up. It always seems the last few weeks that our conversations always geared towards some kind of food. But that's just what it's been the last couple of weeks. But it's a good time. If you aren't busy on Wednesdays at 1 p.m., stop over to the channel and hang out with us. It's always a good time. Okay,
and I have Joe's listing. I have his eBay store. If you want to check out Joe's eBay store, you want to purchase something from Joe. I mean, we all appreciate the business. I have his Instagram, and I also have his YouTube channel linked in there as well. So, guys, and you do recorded videos as well. Like you said, you like doing like thrifting videos, and
I do. I
what sold videos as well.
Yeah, I do a lot of what sold videos. I think more what sold videos than I do sourcing videos. And like I said earlier in the show, it's just something that I've learned a lot from watching other people's what sold videos. And it doesn't necessarily mean that I'm actually picking up that same exact item.
Right.
But,
well, like you said, with the cast iron, the frying pan that you picked up from Craigslist Hunter.
Yeah, it's just giving me an idea of.
Now you people don't all know about these, the old new and bag.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't
know about it before.
It's funny because before that video that I watched of Craigslist Hunter about Griswold, I probably couldn't even tell you that Griswold was a brand of cast iron skillet.
I didn't know. I know very little about cast iron, but I didn't know Griswold was.
Yeah, so I mean,
elite brand.
So that's just something, one item that I know that is that, so I picked up several since then. I've picked up several other different sizes of Griswold cast iron skillets, and if you could get them cheap enough, they eventually.
Question again. I can Google it, but since I got the expert on here, is there any kind of special logo or something that you can identify when you're out in the wild?
With the Griswold? With Griswold? I know there's different ones. I don't know them all. Like there's block lettering, and then that was up to they made that
different types of. They have different kind of logos on them.
Yeah, there's a couple different kind of logos. I don't know if you just Google Griswold,
Google's your friend.
Logos, and they'll simply tell you that if it was this block letters, it was made between 1940 and 1960. I'm just throwing it out there. I don't know exactly what it was, but they do have different logos that changed over the year, and it's a good way to date them. There's also Facebook groups. I use Facebook groups a lot to either identify different items. A few months ago, I had a bunch of slot cars. I didn't know anything about them. I posted them. I joined one of those.
I grew up with slot cars. There used to be one in the next town over.
I just posted I found a slot car Facebook group, and I posted a bunch of pictures of what I had, and within a day, everyone was identified, and it turns out that I talked to somebody in the chat that ended up buying them directly from me. So it was,
wow. So,
it was $300
as well. That's great.
Yeah, $300 sale that I didn't pay commission on eBay. And I sold it right through Facebook. He PayPal'd me the money, and I shipped out the item. So they also work. That's another tip that I use to identify different things. Action figures, of course, and accessories, things like that.
Sure. and then there's collectible collectible Facebook groups, art, that type of thing. I passed that on to some other resellers. Again, Facebook is mainly for the older people, but there are opportunities. There's places where you can share your pictures and whatnot, and they'll help you identify things. So
yeah,
absolutely.
That's been a lifesaver for me for some of the action figures that I pick up or come across, and so check it out.
Great. Okay, guys. Just want to say, as I always say when I end my shows, time is your most valuable asset. I want to thank you guys for spending time with me. I want to thank Joe for coming on and giving up his time to help educate you and myself and make us more profitable and educated resellers. So again, appreciate the guys here that are in live chat. Appreciate the guys watching the replay. Again, my show will be a half an hour earlier next week at 6:30 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to have Bobby, the cap guy, on at 6:30 p.m. Eastern. I'm looking forward to a great show with Bobby. So hope you guys can join us. Take care, guys.
See you.